I took a break for the holidays in order to be able to recuperate after the insanity that ensued after the announcement of Half-Life Alyx in mid-November. If you have been following Valve News Network for any length of time, you probably saw that there was a significant amount of activity in uploads and content creation after the announcement of Half-Life Alyx, and that was no mistake. I have never worked that hard in my entire life, so I needed some time to rest and relax and recharge my batteries for the new year. And finally, we're here, we're back, and wow, a lot of stuff has taken place between me taking a break and me back to work, including the existence of a new source related to Half-Life Alyx. I have a new person that's been communicating with me over the last few weeks about the game, about the internal disputes and arguments and development processes that Valve is going through, and more specifically, assets from the game being supplied to me in the form of in-game screenshots that no one has ever seen before. So in this video, we are going to be going over all of the screenshots that I have been allowed to show off in this video from my new anonymous source related to Half-Life Alyx. Let's get started. To start, we have an image of a wooden staircase inside an unfinished building or some kind of construction site. A recurring theme you're going to be seeing throughout these screenshots is the intense level of detail that exists within all assets that have been created for this game. So the wrinkles and textures on the insulation bags, the grain of the wood, the grime on the different support beams and secure bars. These screenshots, although not incredibly important in relation to the storyline of Half-Life Alyx, will very much paint the picture to you of how detailed this game truly is. These are not screenshots that were cherry-picked directly by Valve to best illustrate the games. These are screenshots taken from a person that has access to the game at random, with the only caveat being none of these screenshots really spoil anything story-related. Now, on a side note, I am not going to be reporting or speculating on anything related to story until after the game is released. I do not want to accidentally spoil anybody on this game whatsoever. Warning: infestation control, with a lot written in the Combine's language. This is a warning sign that you will see throughout the game when you are dealing with Zen-related creatures that can pop up in different levels that the Combine are supposed to be taking care of. However, the attention to detail even on signs and billboards and pieces of art that are scattered throughout the world make a lot of sense. I have to stress that this is the first single-player game that Valve has shipped since Portal 2 in 2011, so all of the artists have kind of had nothing to push their work towards for nearly 9 years, and because of that you have this enormous pileup of incredibly well done art that just finally has a home. I have heard from multiple sources that quite a few of the assets that exist in Half-Life Alyx at one point existed for a previous game that was cancelled over the course of the last decade. And just because of how Valve has been, when it finally came time to push Half-Life Alyx, there was a lot that the developers could pull from. Back in 2017 and 2018, I was reporting that there were a lot of Half-Life 2 leaked beta influences seen within HLVR, and that remains true. Just take a look at some of the official screenshots. It's very obvious there are some inspirations being drawn from the leaked concepts. However, one major point that I did stress is that the Cremator was making a return, something that we have not seen officially yet. And as it turns out, the Cremator will not be making a return. In the original version of the game, before the story was rewritten, it was a part of it. However, the design concepts and illustrations of the Cremator have evolved into other parts of the Combine infrastructure themselves. And this guy, this derpy, wide-eyed heavy machine gunner, does have some iconography that has been pulled originally, and you will be seeing the spirit of the Cremator in other places. For example, people have been speculating that in the original trailer, there was a Combine officer with a flamethrower. That is a Combine officer with a flamethrower. That's entirely true. And that general gameplay design decision did evolve from the Cremator. Of course, you can't have anything built on top of the source engine without errors. And even though this is the most innocent, innocuous error you could possibly have, this is the confirmation that we have the error model in Source 2, Half-Life Alyx. I did want to show this image, however, for a couple of reasons. It's obvious that this is some kind of Combine architecture, possibly early Citadel architecture. Look at the oil, grease grease stains on the frames of the door and how the light refracts within them based on your position in the world. The detail in this game is insane, and it makes perfect sense that the level of compute power that you need to properly run the game is so immensely high. This game is pushing all possible envelopes on mechanical and engine development, and I'm very excited to show that. Also, missing model on this door. I have no idea what's missing on the door. Maybe a sign, maybe a handle. We don't know. Look, it's the error meme. In the official screenshots that have been sent out to the press, there is a shot of Alyx holding her hands up in the apartment with 2 Combine officers doing something to a person that lives within this apartment complex. Between the trailer release of Half-Life Alyx and now, those Combine officers have had a complete redesign in terms of the clothing and uniforms that they wear. It went from a Half-Life 2 gray to a tan, and I'm not entirely sure what the logos or insignias on their arms signify. If anybody knows, please feel free to let me know. It's interesting to see that even though they were comfortable showing this scene off within the trailer and within the official screenshots, so soon after the trailer's release, they changed up the look of it. Specifically, they changed up the look of one of the most frequently appearing enemies in the entire game. These officers equate to civil protection officers. They use basic SMGs and pistols. The guy behind them in this screenshot is a higher ranking officer with an SMG shotgun loadout. And if you pay attention, there is a Combine scanner in the back, but with some fancy insignias on its front plate. I've never seen that before. And I have no idea what these different symbols mean. I'm very excited to see the detail put within the enemies themselves and how these different symbols correlate to their abilities, their power, their placement within the world. The attention to detail here is vast, so there's probably a lot that could be learned through just reading the symbols written in plain sight. Next is a fairly simple screenshot that, according to my source, had to be cropped for story-related spoiler reasons. This is an outdoor environment with some basic destruction seen within wooden signs and tires and metal grates and things. Generally, there's not a whole lot that can be learned just by looking at this screenshot itself. There's not a lot of information to be gleaned. This screenshot is interesting. First of all, there is a rat living on that pile of garbage. Second of all, door with lock. Just like Half-Life 2 Episode 1, you need to be able to shoot lock to open door. There is a lot of small details within this image, but I'm not going to be taking a whole lot of your time trying to speculate on what that sleeping bag is or what the rat's name is. We don't do that anymore. And lastly, most importantly, my favorite screenshot of the bunch. This is a headcrab zombie with the headcrab removed. It is terrifying, but this guy's just chilling in the laundry, wearing a pot on his head. He seems like a cool guy. He seems like a guy you could hang out with. I just want you to take a look at this zombie and compare it to what existed in Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2, for the most part, somehow holds up. I have been replaying that game for well over a decade, and I never feel like the graphics have aged in the same way that those of Half-Life 1 have. However, I have a feeling that after we play Half-Life Alyx, Half-Life 2 is going to look worse than Half-Life 1 looks right now. This is the headcrab zombie. You can remove the headcrabs, and that's what you have left. That is terrifying. But once again, the level of detail put on display compared to something that you saw in Half-Life 2 is night and day, and damn, the last 15 years were not a complete and total waste. Anyways, this was just a little video to get people back into the groove of me creating content in the year of 2020. I have just so significantly more planned. Left 4 Dead leaks, Team Fortress leaks, Counter-Strike leaks. I have learned so much just by taking a break and communicating with everybody that's been trying to talk to me for a long time. So if you're new to this channel, if this is your first video of Valve News Network, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. And also, patrons probably got to see this a few days early. So if you want to see videos early and get your name in the credits, check out my Patreon page down in the description below. Also, if you want to talk to me, if you have anything you want to tell me, if you have any questions for me, my DMs on Twitter, linked down to my Twitter down in the description below, are always open. I try and respond to everybody. And also, my email is tylernewsnetwork@gmail.com. Oh, also, if you're a fan of the type of work that I do on this channel, but you're also a fan of Nintendo, I have a couple huge leaks related to Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4 coming out on my Nintendo channel, Nintendo News Network. Link to that down in the description below. I'd appreciate it if you could check that one out as well. I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Valve News Network. Have a good day. Adios.